Tax shock. Capital gains are now set to be taxed even higher and made subject to Social Security contributions. This is the latest move by Robert Habeck, which he revealed in a new interview here. They really want to get their hands on the money of investors and shareholders, people who are saving up because their pensions just aren't enough. People who are saving up because they just want to secure their money. Because the money in the account is being inflated away. Exactly those kinds of people. Are they really trying to go after us now? And what about people who invest in Bitcoin? But here you can invest indirectly in Bitcoin, for example via ETFs or MicroStrategy or other proxies. According to Robert Habeck, they will have to pay higher taxes in the future here. This is madness because Robert Habeck even talks about how this would be a sign of solidarity. It would only be considered solidarity if we also made capital gains subject to Social Security contributions. We're about to take a look at the highly controversial statements from Robert Habeck. In the interview, because there's some serious gaslighting going on here, they're lying straight to people's faces here. Because he says here that in Germany, labor is not taxed more heavily than income from capital gains. And that statement is clearly false. Because every capital gain would have already been taxed before that. That means you go to work and have to pay taxes on everything. Then you buy with that taxed money. Stocks, MicroStrategy, Microsoft, Google, Apple, Tesla, whatever. You're investing your money. And now they're going to add capital gains taxes on the profits. And these capital gains taxes are supposed to be raised now, by making them subject to Social Security contributions. So, I really think the Greens and Robert Habeck have completely lost it here. But in the end, that's what socialists do best. Taking money from other people because they can't create any productivity themselves. Redistributing money because they can't get anything done themselves. And this whole thing is extremely controversial. But take a look right here at Robert Habeck's statements. What he has to say here.
Their program also talks about a future citizens insurance. Do you want to abolish private health insurance?
We would like to raise the contribution base. We all pay Social Security contributions, or at least those who are in the public health and insurance systems. Taxes on wages. But for example, capital gains are exempt from that. Why should work be taxed more heavily than income from capital gains? That doesn't make sense to me, and that's why we're proposing that we also make these income sources that people have subject to Social Security contributions. Make it subject to Social Security contributions so that we can significantly reduce the pressure on wages. Make work cheaper, and then capital income will be taxed a bit more. That would be a step towards more solidarity within the system. So you see, there are options for answers. They don't.
Well, I can't think of anything else here. There's incompetence here. Maybe there's also some incompetence here. I don't know if it's incompetence or if this is already a deliberate manipulation of the people. I mean, they're also talking about solidarity here. That's always the word. They just use solidarity. It's like they're acting all high and mighty, saying, we're the really, really good people now. We know exactly what to do with the money. We're taking your money because we know better. What we do with the money is the free market. And then we basically have to introduce higher taxes here. Because it's really, really important here, they're talking about solidarity. And on the same side, they're taking taxes from the people. Taxes are essentially compulsory contributions. That means we're talking about coercion and solidarity. Solidarity, if I understand it correctly, has always had something to do with it, that people do things voluntarily here. So, for example, I voluntarily give something up. I'm somehow being solidary for society or whatever. But when we put a gun to people's heads and say, hey, you're paying more taxes now, or else you're going to jail. And that's supposed to be solidarity? Then this solidarity isn't based on voluntariness, but on coercion. And on top of that, we're making ourselves less attractive as a country. I mean, why are more and more people just hanging out here in El Salvador? Shout out from El Salvador. Exactly, because the politicians come up with ideas like that here, to basically squeeze the last cents and pennies out of the hardworking people here. So we already have the problem. Our pension system is broken. We can't save for retirement. Our money system is broken, so we can't really save in dollars or euros in a regular savings account either, because we're being inflated away here. So we basically need to find a way out, whether it's in stocks, real estate, Bitcoin, gold, or whatever else is out there. Because our money is broken, because we can't save in a savings account anymore. And now they're also messing up these escape routes for us, because now the state says, okay, we're already taking your money away. You've earned it, but if you want to save that money for the future, then we're taking your pension away from you. You have to pay in whether you like it or not. You can't get out at all. So you basically have to participate in a Ponzi scheme. But if you want to get out of the Ponzi scheme now, then you could go to the bank. But that doesn't work either because that's broken too. That's also a broken Ponzi scheme where you can't save. And if you want to escape into stocks, real estate, gold, ETFs, or whatever else, then here comes the state. And they tell you, okay, now you have to pay here too, capital gains, because that's just not allowed. In the end, this is basically unearned income that you have, but you've already taxed it before. That's basically a ridiculous argument. What's coming here? That's not unearned income, because you've already taxed everything before. That's double taxation. And then Habeck comes in and tells you, hey, the regular capital gains tax just isn't enough. So we basically have to pile on a little more. And we have to tax you even more. And you also have to say this. This is now very, very important for the people who have Bitcoin here. With Bitcoin, there's no real capital gains tax. I think I got that now. Just thrown in like that with the capital gains tax. Because Bitcoin is not subject to capital gains tax here in Germany. It's tax-free after holding it for a year. And if you sell it during the year, then the income tax kicks in. In other words, your personal tax rate then applies to the Bitcoin gains. So that's the tax you have to pay here. So as a Bitcoiner, you're only indirectly subject to the capital gains tax here. For example, things like MicroStrategy, Metaplanet, or even BlackRock ETFs that you can't buy in Germany. So that actually doesn't count either. But if you hold Bitcoin indirectly, like through indices, you're still holding Bitcoin indirectly. Or you can also buy other, let's say, Bitcoin companies like Semler Scientific, or whatever else is out there. And if you do something like that, or maybe certain trading products, if you buy them like any derivatives or something, I'm not 100% sure, but I think then capital gains tax could also apply here. And it's very, very important that you understand that this is absolutely ridiculous. What's happening here? Robert Habeck might have little to say. People are boiling over online. Because this is really a way to drive the common people into the ground for good. And you can already see it on the internet. People are really boiling over here. It's angering, because in the end, it's just so unfair. It's unbelievable. That means, in the end, you're really giving people the chance to save. Broken. And the last options that are still available. They're really messing that up for people too. It's like, I don't know, you're somehow on a deserted island. Right now, there are still a couple of bridges you can escape from. They're breaking the first bridge. They're breaking the second bridge. Now there might still be a bumpy bridge that you can somehow use to save themselves to the mainland. And now here comes Robert Habeck, and bam, he breaks the last bridge too. To keep everyone trapped in this Ponzi scheme. Holds you captive, and this Ponzi system, I don't know, you have to think of it yourself. What that is, whether it's German for you or if this is the system here. Whether it's the taxation, whatever. Or the money system, the pension system, there are so many Ponzi schemes, or you could say it's one big Ponzi scheme. Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration. I tend to be a bit over the top in my wording. But that's just important. That you really pay attention to what's going on here right now. That you really pay attention here now. What's going on here right now. I also read a very, very interesting assessment. Where does it say here? Robert K. Habeck is letting the cat out of the bag here, blah blah, blah and so on. It's been clear for a long time that the German social security systems aren't funded. I've often warned about this. That the German politicians are going to go after the little wealth that Germans have. So, the Germans really don't have that much wealth on an international or European level. Now they want to go after that too. And then it says here a higher burden. For capital gains, it means nothing other than an even greater expropriation of people from their financial capital. And here it's also being said, this is really no longer about taxation. We're already at the level of expropriation. I mean, just think about it, you end up with a tax rate of, I don't know, almost 100% soon. I mean, in the worst case, you've got income tax at almost 45%. Then you pay consumption tax on top of that, and then there are all these other weird taxes, and then you add capital gains on top of that. And when you inherit these capital gains, there's also an inheritance tax on top of that. And then you're really almost at 100% already. And this is really what's going on here. The big shocker. So that just doesn't work at all. And when you want to leave Germany, you have to pay exit taxes. Or now the exit tax on ETFs over 500,000. Or whatever, what else comes to people's minds. And that's basically what happens in a declining system. The system can no longer sustain itself through more productivity or whatever, but just has to try. The people who still somehow contribute services to the system are being completely drained. It's really disastrous here. It's also said here that Habeck doesn't just want to go after people's financial capital. He also wants to raise the contribution assessment limits for Social Security. This will make earned income even more heavily taxed. He manages to claim in the same interview that earned income would be taxed less. That's a flat-out lie. In any case, for anyone who works a lot or has an income higher than average. His proposal would further reduce work incentives and worsen the economic problems. He also wants to go after people's human capital. It's a double attack on the financial freedom of people in Germany. I couldn't be happier about having secured my human and financial capital. This is basically a comment from Robert Fastnacht. And that's basically the important part. Human capital. But also, let's say, possibly even moving financial capital out of the EU. Or with Bitcoin, you can still manage to get it out, let's say. At least when it comes to the capital gains tax situation, you can generally get out of it with Bitcoin. That's the good thing now that this, let's say, crazy taxation doesn't really hit Bitcoin holders directly, especially if you actually own Bitcoin here. That means if you buy Bitcoin on the exchange, for example, you sign up at 21 Bitcoin and you buy directly, you can also get Bitcoin with the code Bitcoin Hotel, get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. Now you buy this Bitcoin. Now you transfer the Bitcoin to a hardware wallet. I always recommend a TREZOR here, hardware wallet. I'll also put a link down here where you can easily get a TREZOR hardware wallet. You still get 10% off the purchase of a hardware wallet. And then you have yours. Bitcoin here in self-custody. You are not dependent on the stock market and you are also not subject to capital gains tax. You all definitely need to double-check everything, right? With your tax advisor. I'm not a financial expert. I'm neither a financial advisor nor a tax consultant. I'm just some dude hanging out here in El Salvador. So make sure to double-check it. But if you hold the Bitcoin long enough, or even if you don't hold it long enough, you still won't be subject to it, the capital gains tax. So that doesn't apply to you, but it definitely affects anyone who buys stocks here. Anyone who's trading any kind of certificates here, or, trading or whatever else here, MicroStrategy, Bitcoin proxy stuff, and so on. And that's basically what you see a lot now. That the Green Party really wants to get their hands on your money. There was also a proposal from the Greens to raise the taxation on Bitcoin here. That they just want to, let's say, get rid of the holding period. Now I even made a video that I haven't published yet about the Green youth leader who actually wanted to force people, private individuals, into forced labor. That'll be coming out soon. The video, that's a real shocker. They don't just want to raise capital gains here. They want to tax Bitcoin, but now they also want to force private individuals into forced labor. But there's a special video coming out about that, because that's really something here. Absolutely, they've really lost it. A lot of people have actually shared this tweet again, about Elon Musk, who actually tweeted about this. When was this here? So, it's been a few months already. Habeck is a total joke. And a lot of people have retweeted that again. And I mean, he's not really making any friends for himself here. He's not really winning any popularity contests here. I mean, there were actually people who commented underneath. So yeah, that's good. When they tax even more. And the fools are the savers and the fools. Investors, the foolish shareholders, the foolish people who are putting capital aside. They can just pay up now. And so, it just is. Leftist thinking where you just, let's say, are envious of other people. Taking money away from those who aren't creating economic productivity. Not improving the country, but just taking it away from the people who actually contribute. So just like that, I'd say. Very parasitic or something, like a tick that just sucks everything dry. And always just living off others and not being able to stand on your own 2 feet. So, I really find it alarming what's going on here, but on the other hand, you can also be pretty chill about it. Because if it keeps going like this, the Green Party won't have anything to say soon anyway. Let me know down below what you think about it. See you then. Peace out.